Welcome to Not the Retirement Show. I'm Robin.
And I'm Bill.
Today we are chatting about finding new ways to be useful in later life. And Bill, I think this time I'm going to mostly call on you to share your experience and your expertise, because a couple of things here. A lot of our viewers don't realize that both Bill and I are kind of sort of a bit older than we look. And Bill is kind of sort of quite a bit older than I am. So not to share trade secrets here, but you're in your 70s. And I think a lot of people would never even believe that to look at you, because you're still thriving in life. But, you know, now that you are well past what I'm going to call traditional retirement, the question does come up, you know, how do you continue to find new things to do and make a contribution in life? So what's your perspective on all of this?
Well, I think first thing is that you must have the desire to be doing things. I mean, if you prefer to lie on the couch, as it were, in retirement, so be it. But you can't just sort of magically say, gee, I wish I could be doing something in my retirement years, but still lie on the couch. I mean, that doesn't work. You got to get up and go on with it, which isn't as difficult as some people think. You know, one of the big advantages you have is that hopefully, at least in the retirement years, money is not the driver. In other words, you don't need to have a job to to fill any shortfalls or gaps in your pension income and whatever. So if money's not the driver, then in theory, at least you could take any job that you fancy. Now, I mean, obviously there are some jobs that you just probably don't want to do. Obviously, things that you shouldn't do, but you're not necessarily stuck with the. Yeah, I've been doing this all my life, therefore I know what I'm doing. I'm skilled, I'm experienced, and so forth. So therefore, that's what I want to do in my retirement years, part-time or otherwise. You don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want, because if money isn't the driver, and hopefully it's not, then you can do whatever you want.
Okay, so that's quite a mouthful there. Let's break this down into pieces, because some people who are literally lying on the couch watching this YouTube will say that it's really hard to get up off the couch and contemplate, going to work every day or taking on a brand new challenge in life. What would be your response to that?
Well, if you're going to go out and find a job, right. I mean, there are two parts to this. Part one would be finding a job, a traditional, kind of job. Part two would be doing different things. And it could be going back to college, or, taking up photography or taking up videography or stuff like that, where you're not necessarily being paid, but you're having some fun. But from a job perspective, then you don't have to work 5 days a week. You can if you wish, and if you can get a job, that's fine. You also got to remember, I don't really want to call it age discrimination. I think that's probably going a little bit far, but I think you all understand what I'm saying with that. That once you get into your mid-60s, late 60s, whatever, a lot of companies just ain't going to listen to you. They're not interested. They think you're sort of past it. You may say otherwise, you may think otherwise, but it's maybe not that easy to find what you would call a traditional type of job.
Now, I'm going to push back on this one a little bit, because I would have said that up until the unfortunate events of the last couple of years, that you'd be absolutely right. But I also think that there is a brand new opportunity here, in that the events of the last couple of years have really transformed how we work and where the opportunities actually are. And I think there's an awful lot of companies, some of which are actually pretty desperate for help, that are now quite open-minded about working with people remotely, even working with people in other countries. In our own business, we do it all the time.
Go tell that to the decision makers. That's not true. It should be true, and in real terms, it might be true, but it ain't. We talk to people, older people, all the time, and the opportunity, as you call it, sounds good in theory. In practice, doesn't happen. If I'm wrong and y'all think I'm talking nonsense, you let me know. Send me some comments downstairs, but it doesn't happen. The decision makers, the HR people, etc. I'm not knocking HR people. I'm just saying the decision makers still have this belief. Okay, we've come through the pandemic. It's a brand new kind of a thing, working from home and so on and so forth. Therefore, we're starting with a fresh slate. Let's get cracking. Let's move on, etc. But there's not much room for let's call it the over 65s. I can assure you that.
Maybe we're just going to have to agree to disagree, because certainly in the hospitality industry, which is going through a global labor shortage, if you're in good health and you have a positive attitude and you're more than willing to leave the house to work, there are definitely still opportunities available. Now, in all of these conversations, obviously we sit in one small country in a remote place, and there's a whole big wide world out of there. And what you experience in your hometown, your home country around the world, that could be radically different from one place to the next. And I agree with Bill. Be very interesting to get an idea what you guys are experiencing. So definitely, maybe if you don't mind sharing a tiny bit, tell us what country you're in and tell us what things are like for people working in the place where you do live.
Yeah, but let's go back to the point you kind of started with, the desire to be doing something, as you get older or once you're retired. I think we all want to be useful. Maybe not everyone, but I think most people want to be useful. Now, whether that is being useful at home or, taking the grandkids to school or whatever that may be, the level of usefulness is still fairly high. And I think that's a good thing. It's a great thing, in fact, that you do want to have, a reason, an excuse perhaps to get up in the morning and get on with things. So, I think that is clear for most people, that they still want to remain useful. Now, if by being useful, it means that you've got to be active, both physically and certainly mentally. This piece up here is critical to your future health, to your existing health, the longevity factor, if you wish. This is important. This is critical. So if usefulness equates to activity, then be active, because being active, whatever way you do it, be that a job or be that just a pastime or a hobby or whatever it may be, will help both physically. Look, your body's getting older, you're kind of on the downhill stretch. We all are, but doesn't mean to say that you have to turn this on. Turn this on. In fact, open it up. Open this up as wide as you possibly can. Get that mental impetus, get that mental, knowledge, etc. going. You've got tremendous skills. You've got tremendous experience. You've got years and years of experience. Use it or lose it.
Well, now we can certainly agree, because I would absolutely say at any age, the key to thriving in life is to have a positive mental attitude and to be keeping yourself as mentally engaged, challenging yourself in new ways and taking on things that are new and uncomfortable and maybe just a little bit scary, particularly in later life. Just because your own parents or grandparents never would have considered working past the age of 70, well, why in the world does that mean that you can't, if that's something that you would enjoy, if that would help you feel more productive in life?
Well, I think that takes you into a whole different discussion, because I call it the wacky factor. And I think the wacky factor means that, literally you can do whatever you want. And if the rest of the family and your friends, etc., think, oh my goodness me, the guy's nuts, that's the wacky factor. You know what? So what? Who cares? At this age, You can do what you want. And if you ain't going to do it now, when are you going to do it? So if you want to, well, I don't know, go and climb Everest or something like that, if you're able, and everybody says you're nuts, so what? Who cares? Move on. Wacky Factor, keep it in mind.
Interesting fun fact, the oldest guy to climb the Matterhorn was well into his 80s. However, he did train for that. So don't go mountain climbing unless you're ready to do whatever it takes to get your body in shape for that. Well, if you're still watching, we must have said something helpful or insightful. So please subscribe to our channel and we'll chat with you again soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.